It's always better to meet more new people than to think, how do I get rid of a friend? My name is Kelly. I recently kind of transitioned from being a college student to full-time content creator. I also started modeling recently.
You know, like the genip thing?
You know, there's different variations to this.
No?
If your boyfriend is helping another girl tie her shoe, how would you?
Oh, frick no. What do you think about your boyfriend zipping up the hoodie of another girl? Hey everyone, we are back for another episode of BULGOGI Pod, and today we have on Kelly Kim. You guys might recognize her from her fashion content, from you know how I first discovered you actually? I was on my explore page and I was like, oh my god, who is this in their
like
little bunny
Instagram
explore page in their little bunny costume for Halloween. I was like, you're so cute.
Oh my god, that post popped off for no reason.
Wait,
like I don't
I know the reason. I know the reason.
Why?
It's literally like I was like, holy shit, you look like a Miffy.
Really?
Yeah, or like a Sunny Angel. Like I was like, what's going on?
A lot of people were using that hat to do a Sunny Angel costume.
Yeah,
but I was just trying to be a bunny, and then I was like, I started seeing everyone with the wings. I was like, where's my wing?
I know. It was so cute. So that's
Thank you.
initially how I discovered you. But yeah, if you want to introduce yourselves for our Kogis,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh. Okay, so my name is Kelly. I recently moved to LA. I'm a newcomer here, not from LA. I'm 22. And we're gonna talk about this later on, but I recently kind of transitioned from being a college student to full-time content creator. And I also started modeling recently, so that's just what I've been doing. And
I love that. So if you guys want to go ahead and support Kelly, it's kelly.kim on Instagram and YouTube, and it's Kelly_Kim_ on TikTok.
Yes, it is.
Okay, yay. Guys, Kelly is such a sweetheart. She brought a little gift. It's kimlyparc. It's a original Korean latte, and so it's like instant coffee, but it's vegan creamer because I feel like dairy flares my acne. So we're trying to stay away from that.
We're canceling dairy apparently.
And then it's organic, unrefined cane sugar as well as crystallized coffee. But
and just like look how cute it is.
It's so cute, guys. Yeah.
Try it out.
So I'm gonna try this at home. We'll make some content about it. But thank you for the gift.
Happy holidays. Happy holidays.
And so we chatted a little bit before this. And then I also saw your recent YouTube video about just like life transitions.
Yeah.
I feel like it's been kind of like a season of change for me, and like understanding my feelings. Honestly, like trying to feel my feelings for the first time in a long time.
Yes.
And so I think just some recent things I've been thinking about are how like, dude, I used to think about how like I was so good at change. Like I was so good through the transitions, and like mentally I was like, oh, I know it's gonna be tough, but I can like get through it. But then recently, essentially like what's been going on is like I've been thinking about if I want to move or not.
Okay.
And I have been ignoring all my feelings about it. Like literally I was like, you know what, I'm not gonna think about it. I'm just gonna like do the move because I think I'm gonna scare myself and like essentially not move, even though I said I would. And so I've been just like, I literally had a breakdown like 2 weeks ago, which we're good now. But it was just because like I realized I wasn't like accepting like change in my life. I was kind of tracing back, and I realized that the reason I thought I was good at change is because I like moved around a lot when I was younger.
Wow, me too.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Like where have you lived? What's the background on your history?
I'll say this. I've been to like 4 different elementary schools alone. And like during the 5 years.
Oh my gosh.
And I was born in San Diego actually.
Oh, okay.
And then my family like immediately moved back to Korea. And the reason for all the moves, because of my dad's job, like he was like placed in different cities. But we moved back to Korea, and then within Korea, because I lived in Korea for like the next 8 years when we moved there, but within Korea we also moved a lot. So from one city we lived probably like 2 years, to other city we lived like 5 years, other city we lived like 3 years.
Wow.
So like the longest I've lived in a city is like 5 years.
Oh my gosh.
And then from Korea, we moved back to the States. And then I lived in like the suburbs of Chicago for like 2 years. We moved to Alabama. We lived there for like the longest time actually. But like I also moved around a lot when I was just a kid.
Right.
And I think that's a reason why I thought I was good at changes too. Because I was like, what am I going to do? I have to adapt to the change.
And like I have to make friends.
Yeah, I have to make friends. I have to go to school. And for me, like that was the biggest complaint I had as a child. Like I always like blamed my parents. Like, why are you making me move? Like I just made friends. I'm just starting to get comfortable. And they'll be like, oh, like we have to move.
Right.
I'm like, I used to be like heartbroken every single time I found out that I had to move.
Yeah.
But I hated that growing up. But now that I'm looking back, I'm like, I actually appreciate that I had to move a lot because I see friends that had to move for the first time in their lives, like going into college, and I see how much more they're struggling. And it's not that I'm getting like, ooh, like you're struggling more than me. Like I'm not getting like a boost. So yeah, I'm not getting satisfaction from that, but I'm just saying that like, oh, like I've been more prepared compared to other people. Not only can I adjust to the change better and like be able to find a new routine to like sustain my like good mental health, but like I can also help friends through it.
Right.
And like I feel like I talk about that a lot in my YouTube videos too, and that helps like a big community out, and I'm very thankful for that.
Yeah.
But like as of recently, I'm also realizing that like the changes that you go through in your 20s is so different than the changes that you go through because you have to go through it.
Interesting.
And like even I'm pretty sure you're gonna relate, but like in our resumes, I'm pretty sure like we wrote like, oh, like adaptable, like flexible, and like
self-starter.
Yeah.
All of that. Yeah, no, for sure. I think because of all the moving, and then also like my parents were always like, you're good at making friends, you're good at change, like you're good at moving. So I think like that was constantly like fed to me, like the narrative of like, oh, I'm good at change. And so I think it's been good in that like I have confidence going into like new situations.
Yes.
But then sometimes it's almost like I have no other language to use except for gaslighting. It's almost like gaslighting myself into believing I'm good at it, and like I'm not allowed to struggle through transition periods.
It's like you're taking what's been like fed to you and like you just run with it.
Yes.
And you don't think otherwise.
Yes.
And then you're finally realizing that, oh, like maybe I am not good at it though.
Yeah. Like it was just like denying my feelings.
Yeah,
and
I know
like,
how that feels. Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, after like I even managing my emotions and feeling my feelings, I thought I was good at that. But then I realized that like sometimes I will like kind of fall out of the habit of like, oh, what am I feeling? Of like journaling, of like asking myself and like conversating with myself and like checking in. And so yeah, because of like maybe the lack of awareness, like that's something like I'm like trying to give myself grace about, because I'm like, okay, I'm gonna like fall out of practice sometimes. I don't like feel my emotions 100% of the time, and like that's okay. You know?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Are you normally a feeler?
Yes.
Like a big feeler?
Yes.
Okay.
I have like very big emotions. But I've realized that I think the big emotions come because I'm like kind of like ignoring them for a long time. Like
it just builds up, snowballs.
Yeah. What about you? How are you?
I'm
like?
also a big feeler.
Yeah.
Like my MBTI, like F is like 100%.
Oh, really?
But I think over time, I have so many friends that are not as big of a feeler. And they always tell me like, just don't think. I'm like,
how do you
how's that
turn
possible? But they're like, just don't think. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
But I've actually been like learning not to think. Like it's something that I'm like training myself to do.
Ooh, I like
that. It's not something that I want to do.
Right.
Like my heart always wants to feel. I want to be in my emotions. I want to like write about my emotions, talk about my emotions.
Yeah.
But it's something that I've been like working on for the past few years to like not think as much, not overthink as much.
Yes.
And not thinking or not letting like the delusional thoughts get to me.
Yeah.
But
I need
like
to work on that. Yeah.
It's really when you start to adapt like a new way of doing things, such as like not thinking, it's really hard to like find the middle.
Yeah,
Because
like
I used to be on this spectrum of like thinking too much and then trying to like not think at all. I went from here all the way to here.
Right. And it's like, oh, I'm not in touch with myself
Yeah.
at
And
all.
then here you realize like, oh my gosh, like what am I feeling right now? Like I don't know anymore.
Yeah.
Like I'm not thinking. It's like denying your feelings almost. Because it's not naturally in me to not think.
Right. And so like it's almost like I don't know how to do this, so I'm gonna go all the way.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then like months down the line, you're like, I want to get back to the middle.
Yeah.
But I don't know how to.
Yeah, I do feel like I constantly sway between the extremes. Because for me, I used to overthink a lot.
Yeah.
Honestly, it caused a lot of anxiety, like especially in social situations and like stuff like that. And so I was like, I'm gonna turn it off. I'm gonna shut it off. And I like shut it off too much. And so I feel like you're right. Like literally right now is like me trying to get back
me too. I think we're aligning in that way where we can like talk about this topic.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's definitely been like just a like big life transition. And like I feel like your 20s obviously are for like learning, but I think one thing maybe not too many people speak about is like you're experiencing things for like the first time. Like it's like, oh my God, I've never had to deal with this in my life. Like, how do I go about it?
Yeah.
Because right, like as we're growing up, like in the school system, like there'll be certain things like it's like, oh, I've like had to deal with this before. Or like there'll be like certain I don't know, even like fights with my sister that I'm like, oh, I know how to deal with this now.
Yeah.
But in our 20s, it's like, oh, everything's fresh, everything's new. So like I'm just like fumbling through it, and like that's fine. But trying to accept that that's the reality of it is like kind of hard sometimes.
Also, something that I just thought of is like when you're like growing up in schools and like around people that know you so well, there's only certain ways that you can like react in a way that's not gonna freak people out. Like people know you as certain character and certain personality.
Yeah.
And let's say that you fight with your sister.
Right.
And like you do something, like you guys, let's just say that you guys normally make up the next day by like, hey, by the way, like I didn't mean it that way.
Right.
Like let's just get over it. Like
Right.
let's say that's the reason, like let's say that's how you get over it.
Right.
And your sister knows you by just being that personality. But let's say that you just like wrote her a long, heartfelt letter trying to get over the fight. She's gonna be like, what the heck is she trying to do?
Like so out of character.
Yeah, so out of character. So yeah, you have to think about like what's within my character that I could do to like solve certain problems or like go through certain things. But in our 20s, when we're out of that setting and like no one knows who we are, I could do anything.
Yeah.
I could do anything and no one will be like, oh, like why is she acting out of character?
Right. And in a way, I think that's like so, like honestly, like that's so poetic because it's like, yeah, let me not be like boxed in. Let me kind of like experiment with like how I go about situations and like hopefully it's like without judgment. Hopefully like people don't already have their like preconceived notions of like, oh, Hannah or oh, Kelly like has to act within this box, you know?
And I think it's so freeing, yet like scary because there's so many things you could do.
Oh yeah.
And like so many things that I'm personally not used to doing that I could try out.
Yeah.
In terms of like decision making, socializing, like literally in every aspect.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think actually one thing that I think my biggest lesson of 2023 has been to do things scared. And like I'm just like, okay, I just have to like work out the courage and like do it and like we'll get through it. And so yeah, no, for sure, it's like it's so scary, like just kind of like putting yourself out there and like, you know, trying to figure yourself out at the same time like figure other people out. It's just been a little crazy, but yeah, I think like our 20s are just like a time of like, you know what, we're all figuring it out.
Yeah,
like,
it's fun though.
Yeah, how is like kind of the transition into LA been? Because I know you said like you've been here like kind of fairly recently, right?
Yeah, it's only been like half a year since I like really like started living here and like socializing with people that live here. The transition, honestly, I'm the type of person to keep my circle really small.
Oh, okay.
And I feel like even like coming into my new life in LA, I still have my best friends from college.
Oh, cute.
I still have like my boyfriend that I knew and his crowd of people. And I also have friends that I made in LA. Even when I wasn't living in LA, I would like always drive here and like trying to meet people, like meeting like mutuals of friends and like friends and friends. And that's how I like made a lot of my good friends out here. But before I like committed to like, okay, I'm gonna rent out this apartment, start living here, like move all my belongings here, I already had like my close group of friends. So like social life wise, I wasn't too scared of moving out here. And also I love doing things by myself. Like I'm not scared to be alone.
I like
because
that.
I know for some people their biggest fear when moving out is like they're just scared to be lonely.
And
like just spending too much time with themselves.
Alone with your thoughts. But
for me, I'm already pretty used to that. Like I love being by myself. I love doing things by myself. Even when I'm like out and about, I don't mind doing things by myself.
Oh, I like that.
If anything, I've wanted to be by myself more. Like being with roommates and like just living with family and just kind of like realizing that I can just live in any way I like by myself was like very freeing. So I was already so excited to move out and do this. But getting used to like, I don't know, I think I've been dreaming about this life for so long that I didn't think too much about like, how am I gonna get adjusted? Like I just put myself in there and then I was just like living it kind of.
Right. And so like, you know, speaking of this like life that you've like always wanted to live, is that like the content creator life? Like what is this life if you could paint a picture?
Okay, so when I used to live in Alabama, in my little room, this is like when I first learned about like journaling and like people journaling, like manifesting, like bullet journals, like all of that. Like I discovered this for the first time in like self-discovery and like self-help books.
Dude,
basically.
Wait, how old were you?
I was like 17, 18.
Holy moly, so early.
But I discovered that world of like self-help books and I was like, oh my God, this book is gonna literally change my life. Build my life out so I can be so successful. Like it was one of those phases. But I was like thinking about, well, first of all of these like manifestation like YouTubers and like books were like, write out your most ideal day, but make it like present tense. Like don't say like, oh, in my dream life, I want to be doing this, I want to do that. No, write it as in like, today I woke up, or like I wake up in like blank place doing what. And I literally wrote down like, it's not very specific, but I wrote down I'm waking up in my sunny apartment in LA. I get to wake up and eat something that fuels me and that makes me feel good. I am on my own schedule where I can go out and like move my body and feel good about myself, because at this time I was also like struggling with food and like my body image a lot. So I just wanted to be in a setting where I can like feed myself when I'm actually hungry, instead of just like eating when everyone's eating and like kind of being forced to like eat. And like be able to move around whenever I can, and like overall like have control over what I do in my own day, like be able to do whatever I want in my own day, which is like a very vague thing. But I think what I was trying to say was like I wanted to be my own boss, which is like a dream of a lot of people. But it kind of worked out in a way where during that time I also started YouTube. And a couple years down the line, like I'm still doing YouTube. And it worked out in a way where we're living in a generation where people are making this a full-time career. And I'm like, oh, I could be doing this full-time. And that fits perfectly into the life that I like dreamt of. It's like waking up in my own time, being able to, you know, shoot a video whenever, wrap it up whenever. And so in my journal, it's like always a different variation of that. And I actually found this old journal when I went home for Thanksgiving, like a couple weeks ago. And I was reading through it and I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot I wrote this. Like it's not something.
I literally got the chills, you guys.
It's not like I had this like cut out and like on my wall and be like, this is what I'm working towards.
Right. It wasn't a manifestation board.
But it's just something that I wrote in the spur of a moment. Because that's just something that my heart desired.
Yeah.
And then I like forgot about it. And I did other things. Like I went to school, tried out school, tried out other things. And then ultimately, like, this is where I'm at now. And then I just happened to find that page. And I also, there was another page that was like dream brands that I want to work with. This is like a little bit more into like when I got started with YouTube. So I had like more dreams about like, oh, I want to collab with this brand. I want to do this.
Oh, yeah, so cool.
But I wrote I wanted to work with Nike. But recently, I started modeling and I have been working with Nike.
Oh my god.
So I was like, this is just so crazy that like, and it's also why I love like writing down so much.
Right.
Because it's just a log of everything that like my heart is feeling at the moment. Not only like emotions, but like goals.
Ooh,
and we forget about these goals all the time because
Right.
it changes all the time.
Right.
But yeah.
Wow.
I don't know how we got here.
No. I literally love that so much. I think like recently recently as in like today, I bought this planner today. I'm like, I'm going to write things down. But I really think it was me like looking through your TikTok and seeing how much you write and how much you plan and how intentional you are with your like content. And like, right? Like I can see that through the content itself, but then being able to see like the behind the scenes and all the work that it takes, like even hearing about like your manifestations literally manifesting is like so beautiful.
I know.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm like so happy for you because I think we always hear people being like, it works, but that's literally concrete evidence. Like the fact that you wrote Nike.
Yeah. And then I think realizing this, like this was only like last week when I like was looking through my old journal. I was like, oh my god, like it's working.
Oh my god,
you get another boost of like, you get a boost of energy, and like you feel like you can actually dream even bigger goals now.
And
it's such a wonderful feeling.
Oh yeah,
because for a long time I was like, I feel like I don't have anything that I want to do anymore.
Oh right.
Like I have no motivation. I don't care if I do whatever, like I don't have specific goals anymore. But like looking back now and like seeing all these things come true, I'm like, okay, let me start dreaming again.
right And then dreaming and executing, because I think I've been kind of like categorizing people into like either category, but I think the key is doing both. Like
oh my god, I was literally writing about this. Wait,
really?
Yeah, so all these years I journaled the most when I was in high school because I had so many things I wanted to do that I actually couldn't execute yet. Because I was stuck in my little town.
Right.
And then once I got out of school, I kind of stopped journaling. I stopped doing whatever I was doing before.
Right.
But then that kind of made me like anxious. I was like, why am I not thinking anymore? Like the same thing. Like, why am I not thinking? Why do I not have dreams that I want to write about? But then I realized that I wasn't doing as much of that because I was busy executing.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And then now that I look back, because I did like years of like thinking and planning and like figuring out what I really wanted.
Yeah.
And then I spent another couple of years like executing that and making sure that comes true. I'm kind of at the third step now where I'm like, oh my gosh, now let me do both.
Whoa. Okay, I'm chills again. What the heck?
I hope this doesn't sound like a witchcraft session. Oh manifest.
No, I love that. I love that so much because that's definitely something like I've been like working on, and like I totally resonate with just like sometimes like you have to plan and then you're gonna be in your phases of executing, but the magic is when you can do both.
I know.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and it definitely comes through.
Wait, I would love to hear more about how you like the category of people.
Yeah, and so okay, I am like a hands down dreamer at my core. Like I love an overall plan. I'm like, okay, let's strategize. But I think where I have like sticking points is like, okay, now let's do it. Like, how do we make this happen? Because I like the pre-planning part and I love like the ruminating. So I've noticed that it's really about like just getting myself into a state of like starting. It's literally what everyone says about going to the gym or doing hard things is like you just have to start and then you're okay.
And the first step is always the hardest, they say. And I think it's very true.
Yes, no, for sure. And so at least for me, it's the editing, like content wise. Like content wise, like I will record my entire life, but then this is a matter of, am I going to edit afterwards? Because I mean, I'm sure you relate to like literally rotting. Yeah.
Let the content rot. Yeah. While I'm also rotting. No, I'm not doing anything.
No, exactly. Or like I'll watch something 70 times and I'm like, I don't know why I watched that so many times. Yeah. Like I'm like, I know totally exactly what's happening. Yeah. And so I've just been like working on that. But I think like something that like one of my friends had said is like, it's just the muscle that you have to build is like just executing. And so I was like, okay. So working on that. I think that's honestly going to be one of the big goals for 2024. Also, like, I know you said you're a planner. I used to be a planner and then I stopped. I think it was like giving me too much anxiety. Oh yeah. Like, it's just like, I get it. Like, if the plan doesn't execute like, perfectly, I'm freaking out. But now I'm starting to realize that, like, maybe I was being a little avoidant. And so I'm trying to work on not. And so literally this planner was the first step of, like, let's just, like, face our fears and, like, do things scared. Yeah. And so I guess, like, when it comes to, like, friendship dynamics and all of that, where are you in terms of, like, that stage of your life? Are you like keeping your circle tight? Are you like open to meeting more people? What's been going on?
I'm a very big, like, I'd rather have small, really close group of friends than a lot of friends. Quality over quantity for friends. And I also think that it's always better to have like struggle or like 고민.
Okay.
What's 고민? It's always better to be thinking about how I could meet more new people than to think, how do I get rid of a friend that's not serving me? Whoa. You know?
Oh, whoa.
Like, I don't want to be, like that. I don't want to be too, like, I don't want to get too ahead trying to make new friends just because I want more friends. Right. And, like, befriend everyone. And then later on, like, hit me like a truck, like, oh my God, like, we really don't align.
Right. Like, now I
have to think about how I could distance this person for my sanity and for my for myself for my well-being and that's why I'm like even more careful about making friends. But I am at a state where I'm like, I would love to make new friends and I'm always welcome to like meet new people, right. But a big struggle in like making new friends in our 20s is like, how do we take like coffee chat friends into like actual friends? You know, like I could always meet, I have a couple of people that I regularly meet for like coffee or like food, and we would chat and we get along really well. Right. But how do we go to like sleepover friends, you know?
No, I know what you
mean. Like going on trips together friends.
Yeah. Even for me too, I've been thinking about like, I don't want the friends where like I'm just updating them on like what's happened. Like I want to be like engaged in the friendship in real time. Like it's literally like I want to be like, oh my God, this is happening today, right now, rather than like, oh, this happened, I already dealt with it though. And then also, dude, you're literally blowing my mind right now with like, I would rather focus on like friends I want to meet rather than getting rid of friends I already have. Because all last year, literally my focus was like, let's network, let's make friends. Like I met so many people last year and I'm like so grateful for all the people that I've met. But now in like reflection, I'm looking back and I'm like, I wish some of the time had gone to deepening the friendships that I already had.
Exactly.
Or honestly, like maybe investing in potential friends in a deeper way. But yeah, I think me too. Like I kind of have that struggle of like, how do we go from like, hey, like we catch up once a month or once every couple months to like, oh, like you're literally in my circle. And I feel like one of the friends that I actually made like post grad, she's like one of the only friends that became really close to me post grad. Like, how did that develop? And it was literally us just bothering each other, like until we became close. It's like, okay, I'm just gonna
and like both of them being fine with being bothered.
Yes, exactly. Like I think it was like a mutual want.
But it's hard to know that though.
Yeah.
Like let's say that I feel so comfortable with you.
Right.
I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to text Hannah about this really good restaurant that I found.
Right.
But like I would be like, okay, but what if she doesn't want that? And I would like stop myself, you know? Like you both have to know mutually that you're okay with being bothered.
Yes.
And that's such a hard thing to like check.
It's literally like it reminds me of like talking stages.
Yeah.
Of like, I don't know if like I should text him or if like it's being too clingy or like, you know,
But like you never know until you try it.
Yes.
So it's something that you have to try. Another thing that I was thinking about this topic is like, how do I take like coffee chat friend to like bestie level? I've been thinking like what it takes. I think it takes something like you have to go something very vulnerable together. To really have that bond.
Right.
And then after that, I feel like you get to a stage where like, okay, like bother me anytime. Like you bother with your like vulnerability. Like there's nothing like else other than like being open about something like a breakup.
Right.
Or like, I don't know what else. Like just anything that's vulnerable.
Yep.
That involves more like deeper emotions and connecting in deeper ways.
Yeah.
And I think this is why we have like best friends from childhood because we're kind of like forced to go through it together.
Yeah.
Like who else am I gonna vent to if I got a C on my test?
Right.
Who else am I gonna vent to if I find out that the boy that I like doesn't like me back? Like my friends are gonna be caught up in like every little things in my life.
Yeah.
And that's how you like become best friends.
Yeah, you're right.
But it's really hard to do that when you're 20-something-year-old.
You're right.
And you don't feel like, okay, let's say that you go through a breakup. Like, I don't feel the need, like, I don't have to let that know. I don't have to tell that to anyone if I don't want to.
Right.
Like, you have to actively contact someone and be like, oh, by the way, this happened.
Right. No, for sure.
And I think that's why it's so hard.
Right. Because also we have limited bandwidth. Other people have limited bandwidth. And so even when it does come to like reaching out and like maybe it not being reciprocated on the other end, it's just like, honestly, at this point, it's really not personal. And I know it's not personal.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe not always.
Maybe it is personal sometimes.
Maybe it is personal sometimes. Maybe our personalities just don't mesh.
Yeah.
But I think for the most part, it's like, oh, maybe they just don't have the bandwidth. Or like, if it makes me feel better, that's what I'm going to tell myself, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, yeah, friendships has been a big one. Even like in distancing myself from certain friends, or like kind of how you said about like you going back to school, like that there's always a potential for that. And so not saying never, because I have some friends where
never
like
say never.
yeah, literally never say never. Because I have some friends where like we've grown apart, and I was chatting with other friends about it, and they were like, oh, you don't know that like you'll never be close again. And I was like, oh, you're right. Maybe it's just the ebb and flow and like how things go. Kind of like you said with the staircase even, you know, of just like sometimes certain friendships will have to take back burner, but then there will be other times hopefully where like you'll grow closer. Yeah. So yeah, I think like transitions in terms of friends has been a big one. So we covered job transitions. We covered friendship transitions. How about like, I guess, relationship transitions? How has like maybe being in a relationship in your 20s been different from like potential other past relationships? I know we didn't even talk about this.
Yeah. I'm like, Do
you think it's like more serious now?
The thing is, I've always been very serious about my relationships.
Oh, I like that.
Like I think it's also like I'm a very relationship type of person than like dating. So like, and I feel like I might be wrong, but like the idea of dating is such like a big city thing. Or we're like more like 20s thing.
Yes.
Like I didn't even know that the idea of dating like existed until like recently.
Oh, it's like usually like, I just like talk to someone and then we're dating.
Yes.
Like in a relationship.
Yeah. For me, dating means like we're in a relationship.
Yeah.
It might seem very like traditional, but like that's just how I kept it, because for me, I don't want to waste time going on dates with people if I really just don't see the future.
Yeah.
And like, you don't know until you go on a date.
Right.
But I've always been like, I'm gonna date to marry this person, or I'm dating for a heartbreak. Like, I've been very serious about it. Like, that's been my mindset since I was like very young.
Right.
So transition, I feel like not so much. It's more of like, as I get older, like the pool of people I can date also gets older, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like when I'm in high school, I'm just gonna date like this guy in my same grade. Like, it's like that.
Right.
But once you pass like 21, like 22, it's like, if I wanted to, I could date someone who's like 32.
Right. Like I could.
No one's gonna stop me.
Right.
And I think the difference comes with that. Like being able to date someone a couple years older than me, and like having the relationship be more serious from both ends.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Because I might be a 17-year-old that's like, oh, like dating another 17-year-old boy. I mean, like, I'm so serious about this. Other guy, probably not.
Right.
I mean, he might be. We don't know.
But guys mature
But
a
like,
couple
we're
years
both
later.
17, like,
Yeah.
nothing serious.
Yeah, for sure.
But now that I'm like 22, my boyfriend's 27.
Oh,
So like things feel different.
Right.
But I think we're both like pretty, like if we're in a relationship, we're pretty serious.
Right.
So
Okay. So not too much of a transition.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just makes sense with like your dating style. Yeah.
what about you?
I'm trying to think. You see, I think I'm more in my like dating era rather than my relationship era. Honestly, is it by choice? It's maybe a little bit by choice. I think I'm realizing that I'm a little picky.
No, that's good. You have to be.
No, yeah. And that's the thing is like, I'm not going to compromise. Because I'm like, this is going to be my life partner.
Yeah.
I'm not compromising.
Do you have a list?
I do have a list, but I'm also trying to let go of the list.
No, that's the whole point.
Right. But in like superficial ways. Because I think, dude, my friends, even like my closest friends are like calling me out recently because I think they're like, what are we doing? Because I just love when me and another human have like similar music tastes. And literally on the phone, my friend goes, you know, that's like all ego driven, right? And I was like, oh shit, we're doing it like that today. And she was literally like, yeah, think about it. Like if someone has similar music taste to you, you love to hear that because that means that like
you have a good music
taste.
taste.
And I'm always like, oh, they have such good music taste. And I was like, oh, that is ego driven. So in ways, the list is being narrowed, but I think it's very necessary. So I'm just like, maybe putting too much weight on like things that don't need so much weight.
Like there are other things that could be prioritized on the list.
Yeah. So I think a big one on the list has been like a considerate person. You know, I just like want someone like
thinks ahead a little bit.
Yeah, and you know like the gendnip thing?
Oh yeah. Are you pro gendnip or like don't be holding that gendnip?
I think it depends on how secure I am in the relationship. Like if I'm secure, I'll hold other people's gendnip for them. Like that's very considerate of you as a person.
You know, there's different variations to this.
No? Wait, okay, also
there's another version.
Let's explain. Okay, have you guys heard of the gendnip thing?
What's gendnip in English?
It's perilla leaf.
Oh, okay.
And so when it's marinated, it all sticks together because it's like leaves.
And they're thin.
And they're really, really thin and like they'll come out as side dishes and it's hard to like peel them off. And so girls have been asking their boyfriends, right? Like, oh, if you see another girl struggling with like peeling off one gendnip, are you helping her? And it's a big controversy because, like, if you help her, are you a hoe? But if you don't help her, like, are you being a little bit inconsiderate? Like, And so there are variations to it.
Okay, I know for sure there's different variations of it, but I only can remember one.
Okay.
So it's a different scenario. Let's say someone... Oh, okay. I remember the two. Some girl, like, if your boyfriend is helping another girl tie her shoe.
Okay.
How would you...
Oh, frick no.
Okay, and the other one is zipping up her hoodie.
What the heck? No way.
Those are, I think those, there's more. I might have things not straight, but like, there are different scenarios made because of the whole perilla thing was like so big and controversy that they made up like other scenarios.
Oh my gosh. Wait. What do you think about a guy? What do you think about your boyfriend zipping up the hoodie of another girl?
No.
Bro.
No.
That's okay. Why?
Okay, the perilla leaves, I understand. I don't care about that.
Okay, you don't care. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, yeah. Like
Help.
help another girl with her genny.
Yeah.
That's okay.
I don't really think too much about that.
Huh?
Shoe?
Yeah, shoe.
I think the shoe and the zip up is my first reaction is like, oh no, because it's so romanticized in like Korean dramas and like webtoons of that being a very romantic thing, you know?
Yes.
Like the act itself is like not an intimate act.
Right.
Like it's not like, oh my God, like he is in love with this girl now, like goodbye. Like it's not that at all.
Right.
But it's more of like when you're zipping up the hoodie, it's like the lovey-dovey songs would come on Korean dramas. That's why I'm like, no.
No, and
But
also the proximity of like having to hold the bottom too. It's too much.
Yeah. But I've talked to people that are okay with it.
Really?
Yeah.
Is there reasoning just like I don't care?
They
Like,
just
that's
don't
fine?
care. Which good for them.
Wait, yeah, like good for them. That's okay.
I don't know how they got there.
Holy moly.
They're one strong soldier. I would love to be there.
No, I would love to. No, I don't even.
No.
I have a zero desire. Like,
yeah, but hopefully we're never in a situation like that.
oh
you know?
my gosh, my future boyfriend is getting to talk about that.
Yeah.
I'm like trying to think of like other scenarios where like I would be okay with it, because I could be okay with the getting thing.
Yeah.
Like I think that's fine.
Yeah. There's this like funny meme where BTS Jungkook talks about the perilla leave, and he's a very no.
Oh,
He's like no, because if you're holding his skinny, are you gonna like it just leads into them falling in love? It's like wow, this man is Delulu.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
But you guys can look it up. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, I do think like table manners wise, like making sure like water is poured and all that stuff, like for the most part I'm okay with that. But yeah, all the stuff that's romanticized in K-dramas, I'm like
no,
hell
only
no.
for me.
No, literally no background music is coming on in anybody's head.
Yeah.
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny, dude. But yeah, I guess like, you know, to kind of like conclude things, to wrap things up, do you have any advice for people going through big life changes?
I think this is something that I said in my most recent vlog, so you guys can also go watch that for like the full conversation. But I always say like whenever you're entering your phase of transition and like you're at a step where you're like making the decision, you know? So not the consequences part, but like the actual making decision part of things. I always say like, I know we always go to the people that we love and ask for their advice.
Right.
And like ask around what they think of whatever you're about to do.
Right.
And I think that's a good way to like relieve some of your worries and like cut down on like the intrusive thoughts that you might have. But ultimately, you should be able to make the decision without talking to those people.
Ooh, I like that.
Like, I don't think you should let other people influence your decision.
Yeah.
They can give you perspectives.
Right.
And you should take those perspectives whenever you're deciding on something, especially if it's like a life-changing decision. But like at the end, you should be okay with going with your own thoughts.
Whoa.
And like being okay with the consequences.
Yeah.
Instead of like, because we always want to hear whatever we want to hear.
Yeah.
Like even when we're going like visiting other people and like asking for their advice, we're like please say something that I want to hear.
Exactly.
And that kind of tells me already like you know what you want to do.
Right.
You know what you're like, you know how you're feeling about your decision.
Right.
So like just go with that instead of like relying on what other people said, because at the end of it, if it doesn't work out, it's your
to blame.
It's your choice that you made. Like you don't really get to blame that other person for whatever you just did.
Right.
So like just go with your thought. And also another thing that I'm realizing recently is like back then I used to realize like the beauty of what I used to have when things were about to end.
Oh.
Like, let's say like I'm about to graduate high school.
Then you
And
start
like, and then you start
and being
realizing
thankful.
like how great these people are and how great this school is, when like all 4 years of my life I've been like, screw this school, screw the people.
Right.
And at the end of it, I'm like, wow, I did have it good though. Like I'm gonna miss this.
Right.
And I never realized like the beauty when I was in it, living it.
Yeah.
But now I'm starting to like learn for myself that like no matter how big the changes in your new routine, your new life, just to like always be able to like take a step back and like realize how good things are, even if you don't think so.
Right.
Because at the end of it, you're gonna look back and like miss it.
Yeah.
Even if you're like in a stage where you're like struggling, like you're struggling probably, if we're like talking about this life transition and you're like struggling because you're having a hard time adjusting to the new change, but like it's a change that you probably wanted for yourself.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. No, for sure. Yeah. Along the same lines, like I think your first piece of advice and like being confident in your decisions and not asking other people, like, dude, something I needed to hear for sure. But then also, yeah, just like accepting the consequences for what they are, because at the end of the day, like you made the decision.
Yeah.
I love that. And then also, just to kind of add on, I think life transition wise, like give yourself grace. Because I think a lot of times, at least for me, I'm like, you should have this figured out by now. We've been through this before, but yeah, we're all just kind of floating and trying to figure it out. So eventually you'll figure it out.
I have one more thing. I just remembered. This is something that I used to tell myself a lot when I was in the stage of making decisions. And I read this somewhere where this person was like, there's honestly no like right choice. If you're torn between like choice A and choice B, like nothing's right or wrong.
Right.
You just have to, even if you're like scared, you have to make the decision scared.
Yes.
And like just be so confident be so confident in the choice that you made, where you work so hard to make that the right one. You know?
I like that.
So that also gives me like, it's like a push of like motivation almost.
Yes. Yes.
But it also kind of reminds me of what you said about like just making decisions scared.
Yeah.
Like doing things scared.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that kind of, it works as a motivation to like make this right, like make this the one.
Yes, yes, no, for sure. Oh, I love that. There's been so much wisdom spit on the podcast. No, seriously, like thank you so much. Honestly, more than for the cookies, like this episode was for me. We're just
healing right now.
No, we are. And so if you guys want to do more healing, please check out Kelly's channel.
Come over.
Yeah, come over to Kelly's channel. Your Korean name is it Yujin?
Yes, it's Yujin, and that's my YouTube.
Yes.
Name, yeah.
Yes. And so yeah, come check out Kelly. But thank you so much.
Thank
This
you.
is so great. Okay, see you guys next week. Bye.